You've always been a big fan of encouraging folks who are saving properly for retirement on the qualified or non-qual, IRA, 401k. But you've also been a huge proponent of pushing people into a more liquid option, which would be a brokerage account that you could
taxable investment account, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. What do you say to the folks who've invested for 10 or 15 years and built up that liquid money, that liquid investment to a substantial 6 or possibly even 7-figure number that, putting a pool in the backyard might be a cool idea, a good idea. Buying a second home might be a good idea, but they've gotten so comfortable amassing that account value that now it's almost like I'm afraid to do anything with it.
Well, and I'll tell you what the wealthy do is they don't touch that capital, right? They don't want to do anything to disturb the compounding of that pool of money, right? Once they get that thing to 7 figures, they are not spending it. I can tell you that from real life experience, they are not spending that money. They love seeing it in the account. But what they do is they borrow against that money. And that's what the really wealthy people do, is they will use that as collateral. They will let big banks out there, I won't mention names because I know it's going to get edited out if I do. They'll let big banks fight to provide a line of credit against that money. And you can borrow that money just like it's the equity in your home without having to sell anything. But the really, really wealthy families in this country have liquid investment accounts not tied to retirement plans, and they are not selling those investments. They are borrowing against them.
Everybody listening, I hope if you're not in this world or in the day-to-day like Nick is, I hope that was as insightful to you as it was to me. Not that it seemed to be some groundbreaking idea. I just never considered that they're maintaining their capital and using someone else's money to fund their dreams.
Wealthy people don't pay capital gains because they don't sell. The capital gains tax does not affect wealthy people because they borrow. And that's, that is the game. And generally these people have free cash flow, and then they can make that decision of, how we pay this loan down, off, or not.
That's a complete, I'm not going to ruin this episode, but it's dropping an F-bomb for no reason. But that's a complete mind.
You can do a cool edit thing. That's okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Wealthy people ain't selling. They're not paying capital gains. They don't want to pay 23.8%. They'll borrow at 6, 7, 8%. And then, maybe they sell something from somewhere else in their they sell a piece of property or something like that, and they pay the line of credit off, or they get a bonus from work. They take the bonus and they pay that line of credit off, and it goes back to zero. And they just keep compounding.
Or because they take advantage of rates and things, they don't care so much.
Exactly, right? There's people that have lines of credit out on investments forever, in perpetuity. That's super easy to do. I mean, you think about, after 2009, how hard it came to get a mortgage or to get a home equity line of credit, right? It's 2 years tax returns. It's everything, right? W-2s, it's 1099s, investment statements. I mean, the list goes on. And probably that is a reaction to what happened of, stated income loans, which led us to the movie The Big Short. But to get one of these securities-based lines of credit in place, it's like 48 hours, no paperwork. And you just let the big banks compete for it.
Because it's liquid cash.
Yeah, you're using your shares of these companies as collateral. And big banks love that. Oh, you're going to use these shares of these big blue chip companies as collateral? Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Where do we sign?
They're not worried about your neighborhood and the account value of your property. And
they would rather have the shares of your company than your house.
Yeah.
Dealing with your shares of Apple or Nvidia are a heck of a lot easier for them than repossessing your car to try to, boot you out of your house. Yeah, they love it. It's great business for them.
Yeah.
Borrowing against securities, commonly known as margin lending, carries inherent risk and may not be suitable for all investors. This strategy involves using the value of your investment portfolio as collateral for a loan. And while it can provide liquidity and financial flexibility, it also introduces significant exposure. Market volatility can impact the value of your pledged securities, which may adversely affect your financial position. In the event that the value of the underlying securities declines, you may be subject to a margin call requiring you to deposit additional funds or securities to maintain your position. Failure to meet a margin call could result in the forced liquidation of securities in your account, potentially at a loss without prior notice, and have potential tax consequences. Investors should carefully review their risk tolerance, financial objectives, and the terms of any lending agreement before engaging in margin borrowing.
The number one mistake that I have made personally from an investing standpoint is when I was young, I was the guy that was trying to max out 401ks, make my IRA contributions every year. And I never focused on building that brokerage account. By far my biggest financial mistake.
But how does that help someone like you in retirement is also a question. Like, yeah, maybe you could borrow against that to put the pool in, but like, how does that help you in retirement?
The big thing is when you get to retirement in a perfect world, you want to have the 3 different buckets of money. You want to have your brokerage account, you want to have your Roth tax-free money, then you want to have your pre-tax money. And you want those 3 different buckets because the tax code is really complicated and it's probably not going to get less complicated during our lifetime. And during each kind of, each year there's going to be different rules of how we have to play the game. And if you have money in 3 buckets, we can be strategic on how much we take out of each bucket to minimize the tax and maximize what you keep. So it's not how much money you have, it's how much money you keep. And, some people, and I love Roth, but you need some money in pre-tax investments because if you do it right, and I'm stealing David McKnight's work here, who's written many books on this, Power of Zero. If you do it right, you could take money out of a pre-tax retirement account. So you got a tax break on the front end. You could potentially pull the money out tax-free if you take out just enough, and that money could get offset by your standard deduction. And then you have some Roth money that you take out tax-free, and you could borrow against your brokerage account tax-free. And even if you did sell some of your investments in a brokerage account, you could still sell a portion of those investments to create a capital gain. And if the capital gain is under a certain threshold, there's no tax on it. So there's an incredible tax arbitrage that you have when you have multiple places to go to get money. If all of your money is in a pre-tax 401k IRA, you have no optionality. You are completely partnered with the IRS in the current tax code. And I don't want to completely tie myself to my new best friend, the IRS, on what I can and can't do in retirement.